Welcome to Bariatric Expert, the podcast that delves deep into the world of bariatric surgery and nutrition. I'm your host, Sherry Burke, a registered holistic nutritionist with a specialization in bariatric nutrition. I've been working closely with bariatric clients since 2008, helping them navigate their journey towards a healthier and more fulfilling life. Whether you're considering bariatric surgery, have already undergone the procedure, or are simply interested in learning more about this transformative field, this podcast is for you. So hi. So today we have a special guest joining us. His name is Jordan Hurd. He's a survey technician from Parma, Idaho. Jordan, thanks for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No, it's so nice to have you here. So yesterday was July 4th. What did you get up to?
We just had some high school friends over that we reconnected with in the last couple of years. Grilled some hot dogs, watched the fireworks, relaxed, and just had a peaceful evening.
Okay, right on. Did you guys get up to any drinking last night at all, or any shenanigans?
No shenanigans, just a few cocktails.
Good for you. That's what July 4th is all about, right?
Bet.
So I'd like to dive into your really incredible journey. So I've been following you now since 2019. You are just over 4 years post-op now, that's right?
Yeah, 4 years in June.
Fantastic. So I need to say this really loud and really proud. You lost a remarkable 412 pounds. But what's really fascinating is you did an article with Men's Health magazine. And the title of that article, if I'm not mistaken, was It All Began with Something as Simple as a Food Scale. Is that right?
Yeah, it is.
Tell me a little bit about that.
In 2019, February, everything hurt. My life was not really a life, and I knew I needed to change something. And I also realized that I didn't know what a portion of food actually was. So I went on Amazon and bought like a $40 food scale and started weighing everything and realized how much I ate and, learned what portions and portion control was. Oh, I would have like a day's worth of food on it and go like, well, that would normally be one meal. It was way out of control.
What were you eating? Like, what was your typical diet for Jordan back in 2019 before the food scale made a showing?
Sugary cereals, convenience store food, fast food. I really never cooked anything. I would just stop at a drive-through and grab something and take it home. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Pizza, all the typical stuff. It's like, oh yeah, I'll just have that tonight. It's easier than cooking.
So you had the food scale, you start making changes in your diet, you lose weight right away. And what is it that drove you or got you thinking about having gastric sleeve surgery? How did that happen?
I knew I needed to do something, and I didn't know anything about bariatric surgery. I'd heard of it a couple of times, and started doing a little bit of research on my own. And then I lucked into finding a new primary care physician here in Idaho who already had a relationship with one of the clinics I'd been researching down in Tijuana. And so I mentioned it to my doctor at one of my regular visits. And she's like, oh yeah, I know all about this. We can do this. She was originally scheduled to go to Tijuana with me, just in case, I needed somebody there. But she had some issues come up with her private practice here, and I ended up having to take a friend. But originally my primary care doctor was going to make the trip with me. She was awesome.
That's fantastic. When I started doing this, there was a lot of pushback from doctors. They didn't want their patients going to have surgery in Mexico. And over the years, I find more and more that doctors are supporting their patients up to the point, Jordan, that's incredible that your doctor wanted to get on that flight and come with you. Did you fly to San Diego?
Only the second time I'd ever been on an airplane, and I'm terrified of heights. She wrote me a prescription for Xanax just so I could fly down there. It was a rough day.
I totally understand you. I always say that the worst part of the surgery, there's two things. The first one is the flight, if you're having surgery in Mexico. And the second thing is getting an IV run. That's no fun as well, right? Having that IV.
Yeah, that didn't bother me. It's just the plane ride. I just don't like to be up in the air.
So you're 660 pounds. How did you, or maybe you're a little bit less when you boarded the flight, did you have to purchase two seats for the airplane?
I bought two, but I fit in one with an extender. I weighed 660 in February of 2019, and my surgery wasn't until the end of June. And in that 4.5, 5 month span, I took off 160 pounds myself.
So you must have been feeling a lot better by the time you boarded that flight.
Yeah, I did. I felt amazing. I didn't know I could even feel that good, and it's just continued to get better. The day I walked into the clinic down there, I stepped on the scale. I was 5'10", so it was 150 pounds, and I was pretty happy with myself. They did tell me at that time I was the largest patient they'd had up to that point. So.
I remember that. I remember seeing photos online and thinking, wow, I can't wait to see how he's going to look in a year from now. What were some of the high points or like some of the triumphs that you experienced?
Triumphs. Well, the first time I got in my pickup and my stomach didn't push on the steering wheel, that's pretty amazing.
How long did that take? How many months after surgery was that?
Just a couple. Right after surgery, the weight still came off really fast. I was doing 20 or 25 pounds a month for the first 4 or 5 months.
Getting back, losing 25, 30 pounds a month, like that's dramatic weight loss. Tell us some more.
I remember the first time I bought pants in a store. I don't, even from the time I was a little kid, I probably didn't get pants from a store since 1992 probably. Everything was online through, King Size Direct or one of those things. So it was, a ton of money, and there's not good stuff, and I just hated it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm still changing sizes. So I haven't bought brand new pants yet. I think I'm about to the waist size I'll stick at, and I might actually buy a brand new pair, but I don't know. $6 ones from the thrift store make me happy.
Right? I know. I love thrifting. That's great. Did you have any time during the last 4 years that you felt moments of frustration at all? Like we know the highs were there, but were there any lows that were there as well, or any kind of plateaus or setbacks along the way?
Yeah, the first time that my weight loss stalled, I about lost my mind and panicked. And I was in the mid 300s, and I spent like a month and a half just bouncing up and down 2 or 3 pounds. And I was terrified I was never going to get under 300. But finally that went away. And then it happened again in the high 200s. I got stuck for like 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's like 6 weeks. The first time was 6 weeks as well?
Yeah, they're both a month and a half. It was bad.
Right, and the panic sets in, and you're thinking, will I ever lose again, or I'm just going to be stuck here?
Yeah.
Right.
Did I do something wrong? Did I mess this up?
Right.
But I stayed consistent with what I was doing, and it finally broke.
I think that it is just a matter of rinse and repeat, and stick with your diet and stick with your exercise and just keep pushing through it, and not to do anything crazy. I think your body almost needs time to catch up with the scale. Yeah. It's like your body is at a set point, and it's you against your body, and you just need to stick the course, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So what would be some words of advice that you'd give our listeners today if you get, in your words, like when you hit a plateau or when you get stuck or when you're on this weight loss journey, what are some words of advice you can give our listeners?
Find somebody that you're 100% comfortable talking with. Because when those plateaus happen and you start to get frustrated, it's hard on your mind, or it's hard on my mind anyway. And having somebody that I can talk to about things like that, or just, vent or whine or whatever I needed to do at the time, that is super important. So everybody needs somebody.
You reconnected with somebody and you end up getting married after surgery. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah. Well, we actually were little kids together. We've known each other since we were 6 years old, and graduated high school. We're friends on and off throughout the years, grew apart, had lives. And let's see, 2020, so a year after my weight loss surgery, my niece was getting married, and I was still big enough. I didn't like to go to social events. I didn't like people looking at me. Before I started losing weight, I didn't go to social events. I just stayed in my house. And so my wife now, Dee Dee, messaged me on Facebook. She says, "Hey, I'll go with you and be a friendly face and give you a little buffer between the stress and the people." So she went to the wedding with me, and we've pretty much been inseparable since.
I have a twin sister, and she had experienced the same thing, reconnecting with somebody from her first year in university, and that was like 25 years after. And they've been together for like 6-7 years now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Facebook, right?
Yep.
True story, the power of Facebook. You know, something else that I really admire about your journey, I think it's so important. I watch you post online, and every time I see you post, you might not think it's important, but I see the importance behind it because it's exercise. I know that you take your exercise extremely, extremely serious, and I love that. Talk to me about your exercise journey.
Before I ever joined a gym, I was terrified of gyms. I'm going to go in there. There's going to be mirrors everywhere, and all these fit people are going to stare at the fat guy. And I didn't want to deal with that. So I got on Amazon and bought some little dumbbells, and I would ship to my house. And I would sit in front of my TV and put workout videos on YouTube in my media room where I watch TV and lift weights there for as long as I could until I was out of breath and, sounded like a fat kid chasing a cookie. And after that, I worked like that until I finally decided, all right, these little ones I bought aren't enough weight anymore. I've got to do this. So I went down and joined the closest gym to my house, and they were one of the 24-hour places with the little barcode thing to get in the door. So I would go in there at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning when there was no people. And I still go at like 4:30 in the morning. But yeah, there's no 5 or 6 people. It would be a big crowd. So I knew they were all there to do their thing with their headphones in, and nobody was staring at me. And I just built on it from there. If I miss more than 2 or 3 days, it gets to me a little bit, and I'm like, all right, I got to go.
But don't you love that the anxiety of having to go to the gym, that anxiety gets changed to, oh my goodness, I didn't go to the gym. Now I'm anxious about it. It's an addiction, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have to go. I mean, and I go 4 to 5, sometimes 6 days a week. Some weeks, I only have 2 or 3 days, depending on what my work schedule is, how I feel. But yeah, I try to be there 4, 5, 6 days a week.
What does your exercise routine look like? Is it like a cardiovascular and weight training combo? Or what is your current program looking like?
I go in and jump on the elliptical first thing and do 15 minutes on the elliptical at a decent pace, just to kind of get my blood flowing and see if all my joints are going to work that day. And then I jump in and do about 45 minutes of weightlifting, and 2 or 3, sometimes 4 days a week. I'll follow it up with between 30 and 45 minutes of cardio. I took about 4 weeks and didn't go to the gym. There's a walking path right across the street from my house that's just under a quarter of a mile. But I did like about a month just walking every day instead of going to lifting weights, and let everything kind of healed up, because I have had a few injuries. Since I had my surgery done, I had to have my knee rebuilt once and my rotator cuff rebuilt once. I got to the point where I couldn't lift my arm a few years ago, and finally was like, all right, I'll go to the doctor, I guess. And my rotator cuff was torn into 7 pieces, and at some point my collarbone had come out of socket, and I didn't know it. So those 2 injuries slowed me down for about 5 months.
Were those gym injuries?
Nope, those are just regular life. My shoulder had been bothering me for years. I just didn't know it was that bad. And the same with my knee. My being 660 tore my knees up. They hurt on a good day. They hurt a little bit.
And right now, how are they doing?
Not too bad today. I'm taking it easy today.
Okay, good.
On days where I know I'm going to do a lot of strenuous stuff, I put knee wraps on underneath my pants to just kind of keep them compressed and warm. My gym is 20 miles away. The little town I live in, there is no gym. So I get up in the morning, leave the house by 4 o'clock, drive, it's like 15 miles, I think, to the gym, work out for an hour and a half, and then go in and do another 15 miles and do a 10-hour work day. So
wow.
I get out of the house and make it happen.
Good job. That's great advice. I love that. Your dedication and resilience is commendable. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, and you know what? My advice to listeners would be start small, go slow, and
Absolutely.
Yeah, and don't always tell people, don't jump into your fitness journey. You don't have to go to the gym for 2 hours, right? You just need to just do something and build it into your life. And if it's not working for you, change it up. Do something different.
Absolutely.
Right.
And if you do choose to go to the gym, don't be afraid. I mean, I realize it's a stressful, terrifying place, but come talk to me. I'll help you. I remember I went for 4 or 5 months before anybody even spoke to me. And then it was one of the trainers that worked there. She's like, I see how hard you work. I just want to tell you you're doing good. And that was, 3.5 years ago, and we're still friends.
That's so good. So tell listeners to reach out to Jordan if they need a little bit of motivation for the gym, right?
Absolutely. I feel pretty comfortable where I'm at. So I got all the way down to 239-ish, but I didn't feel good.
Yeah.
Physically didn't feel good. And my friends that friends that I don't see often are like, man, you don't look good. Are you okay? So you're like, well, I don't feel great. So I talked to my coach at First Form, and we upped my calories a little bit and got me back up into the 265, 275 area. And then I feel phenomenal. But I keep losing pant sizes, which freaks me out because some days seeing 270 on the scale freaks me out, and some days it doesn't. But so I'm down to pretty much going to be a 36-inch waist, and I started at a 74.
It's the recomposition of your body. It's the recomposition that you're going through right now.
Yeah, and I'm at the point where I'm actually building muscle fairly quickly, so it's working out well.
Good for you. Keep it up. I'm every time I see you post, I'm like, yeah, it motivates me too. And like I'm like you. I look at I call working out taking my anti-bitch pill. That's what I call it. My husband's like, you know what? I think you need to go for a workout. It's the only thing that balances me out. If I don't work out, I'm grouchy. I feel bad. I get really down on myself. It's a depression thing. I think I control depression through workouts.
Yeah, I think so too. Last summer when they did my first skin removal, that 8-10 weeks afterwards where I couldn't work out was brutal.
Brutal. You think you prepare for it, but you're not. You feel weak every day, weaker and weaker.
Oh, yeah. And running around in that compression. So I got it done July 4th of last year was my surgery, and came back to Idaho in that compression garment, and it was 105 for like 6 weeks.
You couldn't leave the house.
Miserable. Yeah. No. After 2 weeks, I went back to work. Luckily, I was in an air-conditioned office because it was horrible.
Yeah. So don't do surgery in July. That's my best advice. Do it in December.
Yeah, when I'm able to make the second round of skin happen, it's definitely going to be a winter procedure.
For sure. In your sexy garment, trying to hide that, right?
Yeah. Oh, I hate that thing.
I know, right? Keep it. You might need it again. Just saying, if you want to go.
Oh, yeah.
What does your diet look like today? What does a day in the life of Jordan food-wise look like? Your coffee in the morning, or your pre-workout, your breakfast, your snacks, your dinner? Tell me about it.
Pre-workout and coffee, definitely. I probably do. It's not as strict as it was, a year and a half, 2 years ago. I've loosened up a little bit, but it's still pretty tight. I'm right around 1,400 calories a day, and I focus on hitting a protein number. I want to say my protein is at 145 grams a day.
Wow, that's great.
I focus on hitting that, staying under about 80 grams of carbs a day and 50 grams of fat. So it's not a bad diet. I'm able to fit a lot of things in. I do mostly ground turkey with my breakfasts or lunches, because I prep a week's worth at a time. Every Sunday afternoon, I just cook for 2 hours and do a week's worth of meals, lunches, and a week's worth of breakfasts. Lots of eggs, lots of sweet peppers and onions. And I just, for breakfast, it's always that. And lunch is generally some sort of ground turkey or something with like a half a cup of rice. I get about 8 to 10 ounces per meal. And then I throw in a protein shake. And my downfall is crackers. If I have carbs left at the end of the day, I'm on the crackers like there's no tomorrow.
That was my question. I was like, so your diet sounds perfect. What are the downfalls in your diet? I know I'm a late night snacker. That's my downfall.
Midday snacking is an issue, especially if I'm in the office, not out in the field, because somebody always is bringing in donuts or cookies or something like that. And it's hard to resist it all the time. And, some days I'll break down and have one, just not often. I'm not perfect by any means, but I'm probably 90+% consistent with my eating. I have a little bit of everything sometimes, but never a lot of anything. If that makes any sense.
I think you're safe. You safeguarded yourself, but we're never safe. We're never really safe because the drive-thrus are always going to be there.
Yeah, and I do okay staying out of the drive-thrus. It's family get-togethers where we go out to eat that I tend to overeat or have things that are off my meal plan. I'm
Once in a
strict enough.
while. It's once
Yeah.
in a while. It's not all the time.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm strict in my meal plan that if I go too far off of it with something that's not my norm, I actually don't feel good. Like I used to love pasta and Italian food, and now pasta sits in my stomach like cement, and I just don't feel good for days. So I don't do it very often.
Around year 10 or 11, 12, that's going to change. But when you think about pasta and you put it in a glass of water, you'll see that it expands. And what
Yep.
happens is you eat the pasta, you feel okay, and then you're like, I'm way too full. It just happens. You can't,
Yeah.
3 bites and you're too full. I know. Pasta's one of those foods. How is your restriction today? Do you still have a lot of restriction?
Yeah, 8 to 10 ounces, and that's all I can handle after I get a little bit of pain and a little nauseous. I still don't eat much at a time. It takes me all day to hit my 1,400 calories.
So it's really important at this stage, 4 years post-op, that you know that your stomach is going to stretch a little bit more as you go through this, but you have safetied yourself by changing your lifestyle, doing the exercise, doing the work, understanding macros, knowing what your downfalls are, and knowing your strong points.
Yeah, I do know that carbonation is not my friend.
That's good.
4 years out, I can do about 2 ounces of something with bubbles in it before it hurts my stomach, and I drink carbonation so little that I don't like the way it feels on my tongue either, so I just don't have it.
Perfect, because that'll also change. Every year that goes by, the journey is going to change. And
Absolutely.
and it sounds like as long as you're prepared for that, right? Our clients are prepared for that it's not the same journey as year 1 in year 10.
Yeah. Yeah, or even my year 1 and the next guy's year 1. Everybody's so different.
Jordan, thanks so much for taking the time to speak to me today. And to our listeners are going to love your story. It's super important. And thanks for being so honest and open and sharing with us.
You bet. Happy to be here.
So I want to thank our listeners for tuning into another episode of Bariatric Expert Podcast. Be sure to download our app, Bariatric Expert, because that's where you're going to find free meal plans and recipes. You're going to find the podcast, the support group. And be sure to subscribe on Spotify and YouTube for more informative and uplifting conversations. Until next time, Sherry signing off. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.